Hello and welcome. Last year, Absalon unveiled Rhino, an opinionated framework for enterprise Shiny applications, with a focus on software engineering practices and development tools. Today, we'll get a deeper dive into the Rhinoverse with fellow Absalonians and package authors Kamil Żyła and Kuba Nowicki. Kamil is a full-stack engineer at Absalon and core developer of Rhino. Kuba is our staff engineer and open source lead. They have contributed and developed numerous Shiny apps and R packages, including many within the Rhinoverse, and are both paving the way for Absalon's open source lab discovery and contributions to the Shiny ecosystem. Fasten your seatbelts and enter the Rhinoverse as Kuba and Kamil show you how to use Rhino to create Shiny apps the Absalon way, like a full stack software engineer. Kuba, Kamil, welcome to the stage.
Thank you, Micah, for the introduction. So today, as the title suggests, we'll be talking about Rhinoverse. However, what is Rhino in the first place? Let's start with a bit of history. So it all started with Shiny. We discovered this technology, and we thought that it's great for creating some value with great speed. It allowed us to showcase results to the client really fast, create something interactive and impressive, sometimes within hours. However, soon when we started using Shiny for our projects, but soon we discovered that many of them kept growing. Their complexity would increase more and more. We kept adding features, and with time, good engineering practices would become essential or the project would stall. So we had to take time to think about project structure, configure things like linters, unit tests, and so on. And this kept happening to us time and time again. Basically, in each project that kept going, we needed to configure all those tools. So we started thinking to ourselves, we shouldn't repeat this work time and time again. We should direct this effort towards building something reusable. So the high-level goal was clear for us. We wanted to have a reusable tool to set up our project and all the development tools. However, it was not obvious how to achieve that goal. Throughout the years, we tested various approaches. At the very beginning, we had a complete development environment running in Docker and a bash tool to manage it. This tool later evolved into a Python tool, and the concept changed. We started having code snippets on branches, and the tool would be used to combine them into project structure for your Shiny application. Then we found that it's complex and kind of difficult to use. We went through a phase of simplification where we had just a simple Git repository, a template that you could clone and use a foundation for your Shiny application. And after all this experimentation, we started feeling that we have something that we are satisfied with and that we want to share it with the world. And thus, Rhino was born. So what is Rhino? Well, it's an R package, contrary to its predecessors. We thought it is the most natural way to share our work. And it's important to note that it's open source and free. So Rhino allows you to set up complete project structure for your Shiny application with just a simple command. And this includes all the configuration, places to keep your sources, and all the development tools that you'll need, like unit tests, end-to-end tests, linters, and so on. So Rhino was announced almost a year ago. We introduced it at Absalon Shiny conference at the end of April last year. Since then, we started using it in all our commercial projects. We also migrated a couple to Rhino. And this taught us a lot. We discovered bugs, we discovered places where it wasn't quite meeting our needs, and this led to various improvements. And we also received a ton of feedback from the community. And with great pleasure, we can say that to a large extent, it was very positive. Of course, we also received bug reports and feature requests, and we're very grateful for all of them because it allows us to improve the package even further. So I want to give you a quick recap what happened with Rhino over the past year. So we focused on key three areas. First of all, usability and bug fixes. We really wanted to make sure that using Rhino is free of frustrations. And to give one concrete example, we made sure that Node.js, which is used to power the state-of-the-art tools for JavaScript and Sass development, is easy to use, in particular on Windows, where it caused the most issues. Then we added incremental improvements to various parts of the package. For example, we expanded the API by adding useful additional arguments to our functions, or improved our automation and continuous integration by including more checks. Lastly, we really wanted to make sure that all the features that you would expect from vanilla Shiny work with Rhino as well. And sometimes this meant fixing compatibility issues and adding support for given feature to Rhino itself. Good examples are Shiny Test 2 and Shiny Bookmarking, which had issues but now should work fine. Sometimes it just meant expanding our documentation, as the majority of packages actually are compatible with Rhino without any changes. Sometimes you just need to know how Rhino works because it's slightly different from vanilla Shiny. So this is Rhino from its very beginnings up to this point. To summarize, you can think of Rhino as a complete development toolbox for your Shiny applications. So what comes after Rhino? What's the next step? It's Rhinoverse, a complete workshop for building web applications in Shiny. So Rhino is an R package, while Rhinoverse is a family of R packages. We want Rhino to be a foundation for building your Shiny application, and with the packages in Rhinoverse, we want to address the wider web development needs that you might have as the project continues. So it's not something completely new that we're announcing right now, but rather we want to share with you a vision that we have to move forward with our open source. Because the power of R to a large extent comes from its packages. When you need to do something, typically you will find the package that will do the job. Of course, that's not always the case, and we found ourselves in such a situation on multiple occasions. And then we created packages of our own. However, so far, they were created in kind of isolation. And what we'd like to do now is to really ensure that they work together very well, that they form a family that you can use to address all your web development needs that you will have. So what kind of needs do we have in mind? So probably the most obvious part is the visual design of your application. Everything that you will see when you launch your application. So the UI components that you are using and the theming. And Shiny, while it allows you to build an interface, an interactive one, really fast, it's somewhat limited when it comes to the choice of its appearance. Of course, you can expand it using the various packages, but still, you're kind of limited. And we really want to make sure that you have a wide array of choices when it comes to how your application looks like. And we also want to make sure that the most popular toolkits out there are available for Shiny as well. Then there is a whole set of features and needs that are relevant to the user, but not strictly visual in nature. Let's call this usability and browser features. I mean things like being able to copy a URL of a specific view of your application, or being able to translate it to different languages and switch the language easily in the application. Lastly, during web development, there are a lot of needs that are not strictly related to users at all, but which are important for developers. So being able to test the performance of your application and compare it between different versions, being able to validate your data, and everything related to app internals, the app architecture, and so on. So with Rhinoverse, we want to have you covered in all these different areas. And the packages we already have address these needs, but we have more planned for the future. And now I would like to pass the mic to Kuba Nowicki, who is our open source lead, who will tell you about the packages in Rhinoverse and what we have in mind for their future.
Thank you, Kamil. Let me now take you on a tour and show you what currently we have in Rhinoverse. And I will start with the first area Kamil mentioned, which is the visual design. So in Shiny, in general, you can get your UI very, very fast, but it's not going to be the most beautiful one. Of course, Rhino supports you with creating a custom styling by providing you a setup for Sass, by attaching your style sheet to your application in an automated way. But this kind of customization takes time. And often this is a case that you want to just focus on building new features, not on the UI, and still you want to achieve this great looking application. So the solution is to use a library with predefined components that will give you this consistent, great look. And in Rhinoverse, we have 3 such packages, or in fact 4: Shiny Semantic, Shiny Fluent, and Shiny Blueprint. And let me now say a few words about each of them. And I will start with Shiny Semantic, which is our most known package as far as it comes to counting the GitHub stars. It gives you components coming from Semantic UI. It's probably the easiest place to start since its API is quite similar to the base Shiny. And moreover, if you want to achieve this layout coming from Shiny dashboard, but with the twist of having semantic components, you can do that using Semantic dashboard. It will give you this setup with navbar, sidebar, and body with tabs. Okay, next package is Shiny Fluent. It implements beautiful components coming from Microsoft Fluent UI. So if, for example, your organization uses Microsoft tools, it may be an easy way to build an application that is consistent in style. Okay, and the third package, you already heard about it yesterday. Our youngest child is called Shiny Blueprint, and it implements Blueprint.js from Palantir. And again, it includes a number of great looking components. It gives you a beautiful professional look. It yesterday landed on Crunch, so we are eager to hear your feedback on that. All those packages work without any problem with Rhino, but soon we plan to make it even easier by giving you a set of templates, a pre-built Rhino applications that will use UI coming from Semantic, Fluent, Blueprint. And with that, you will be able to start your projects even faster just by filling the existing structure with your content. And there is one more package I want to talk about in this part, because both Shiny Fluent and Shiny Blueprint are based on React libraries. And to be able to port them to Shiny, we created another package, Shiny React. And you also can use it to port any React library that you want and use it in Shiny. But this comes, of course, with an overhead of building a whole R package. And because of that, another feature that is coming to Rhino in the future is the ability to add or to define a single React component inside Rhino app. So soon you will be able to write small parts of your Rhino application in React. Now let us move to the next area, usability and browser feature. And here I want to talk about 2 packages that will help you building a complete web application using Shiny. And the first one gives you the ability to add an illusion of multiple pages to your Shiny application, which is by default a single page app. And Shiny Router can assign specific views to specific URLs. This gives you the ability to use browser navigation, go back and forward, to paste a link with a specific view. It also gives you features like URL parameters or 404 per page. So you can display a custom message if user enters a not valid link. Okay, another topic is internationalization. And in Rhinoverse, this can be achieved thanks to Shiny I18N. And this gives you the ability to reach the broader audience with your application simply by wrapping text in your application in a translator that will change the text according to the language that has been chosen by the user. Moreover, if you want to use Shiny internationalization in other setups, it's also doable. You can use it in R Markdown documents. You can use it for translating Quarto documents. Okay, the last area here, development and testing. And here again, I want to talk about two packages. The first one fulfills the need to display a little bit more to the not user, but early user, to the tester, because you want to get as much information as you can about any problems that they have. And this can be achieved using Shiny Info. It can display small messages around your application, like application version, like the commit, like the value of some objects inside our session. We also plan to integrate it more with Rhino. So soon you should be able to see some messages coming from your application. And this should make the process of creating and debugging application much easier and much smoother. Finally, the last topic is about testing. And Rhino comes with a setup for unit tests, thanks to TestDat, a setup for front-end tests, thanks to either Cypress or Shiny Test 2. And now in Rhinoverse, you can also get a package that will give you a tool for performance tests. And this is Shiny Benchmark. So with that, you can compare different versions of your applications and check, maybe they are faster and you have something that you can show to your boss. Hey, this application is now twice as fast as it was. Or maybe there's a problem and you want to spot it early and act on that. By the way, if you want to know more details, tomorrow there is a great talk from Douglas Mesquita, the creator of Shiny Benchmark. He will show you a lot about this package. I know that there will be also a demo, so you'll see this in action. Okay, that was a very short introduction to most of our packages available in Rhinoverse, not all of them. So I encourage you to check them. I hope they will help you build great Shiny applications. And the best place to start digging into Rhinoverse is our website, rhinoverse.dev. You can find there links to documentation, links to demo applications, to the repositories. And also, if you find something that is missing, maybe something needs to be fixed, don't hesitate to send us an issue in GitHub. That will be very helpful. And if you want to help more, if you want to contribute, you are more than welcome. We'll be super happy if you send us a pull request with some improvement. Okay, thank you. Thank you for listening to us. Now, I believe we have some time for questions. You can also reach us on our conference Slack. We have a dedicated Slack channel, Open Source Epsilon, and you can also find me on Twitter and Mastodon. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Kamil, and thank you, Kuba, for the presentation. We do have a few questions here. And of course, as Kuba mentioned, as a reminder, feel free to chat on the ShinyConf Slack if you have any questions related to the packages, individual or the Rhino package itself. So the first question from Olga, does Shiny Router work well with modules? I guess this can go to Kuba.
Yes. Yeah, it was working with modules from the beginning. Now it's even simpler because, as you probably know, Rhino is based on modules. And now the usage with this setup is seamless. There is also a tutorial on how to work with Rhino applications and with Shiny Router. And this applies also to any Shiny application with modules.
Great. We have another question here. How does Rhino make it easier for me to share applications with public, such that it's easy for anyone to get started on developing the application?
So I would say that the big power comes with the fact that you need just one command to set up full project structure for your Shiny application. And you don't need to use everything that you will get from the beginning, like you probably won't write tests when you are just doing a simple demo, but it might be useful for the future. And you get everything from the start, so there is never a situation that, oh, I won't be adding tests because it takes too much time to set them up. you already have that ready. So not sure how much it helps with sharing your application. I mean, I guess it in general helps if you have a quality application. It will be easier for you to get traction, and it will be more exciting for people to see it. So I would say that's how Rhino can address that in general.
Great. This next question is similar along the lines. Which package has a gentle learning curve that I can quickly implement in my existing Shiny apps?
Tough question. We try to make all of them as easy to start as it's possible, and we try to make the documentation better and better. So just go for our packages, check what are your needs, and I'm sure that you will find a tutorial that will help you to start. If you want routing, there is Shiny Router. If you want to change the language, there is Shiny Internationalization. So yeah.
Great.
It depends what you need.
This next question, I guess, could be for both of you. What is your favorite superpower that is offered by the Rhinoverse? Thinking, I can see.
So maybe I will start. I think for me it would be, I'm not sure if it's a superpower, but if you consider it used in many applications in an organization like in Epsilon, then I would say it's a superpower to have a fixed structure for your applications. When you see another application for the first time, you're not wondering where the files are placed, you're not wondering how things work, because you know that it works how it does in Rhino. So I would say that this is something really powerful, especially when it is scaled, when you have many applications in an organization developed this way.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I would add on top of that I really love the explicitity of everything that is going on in Rhino. Starting with the explicit imports, with the setup for Arenv, where you need to define exactly which packages are used. You can install whatever you want, and as long as you don't add it to dependencies.r, you can have your mess. It will not affect your application. It will not affect your Rnvlog.
At some point, we used React R, and we departed from it as we saw, like, once we understood how things work, we wanted to do things our own way, and so we didn't need it anymore. So this feature of being able to use React components directly in Rhino will be based on Shiny React. And the idea is that what Shiny React currently does for you, it allows you to create a package that will be able to wrap some React library. So for example, there is Blueprint.js, a React library that provides you with many components, and you can create an R package, and we called it Shiny Blueprint, which is a wrapper for that library. And with Shiny React, it makes it possible to use that React library in Shiny. And so far, this was like the only workflow that was supported well. So if you wanted to create, just for your application, a single React component and use it for some feature that would be difficult to implement otherwise, you would still kind of have to create a separate package for that component. And of course, you can do that. But what we'd like to make possible and easy is that you can directly in Rhino, as you already have places for JS sources, you should be able to define the React component and just seamlessly start using it in Rhino without wrapping everything in a new R package. So that's the idea.
Great. Additionally, what, if anything, surprised you from this past year? Any specific bugs, operating system issues, or package compatibility?
Okay, my favorite one, and this is related to what we said about what I said about Node.js support. So Rhino was mostly developed from the beginning on Linux, and to support some of the features there, we used so-called symbolic links. So basically, you can create a pointer to another place on your file system. And this was very clean and worked great on our system, like on Linux. But when we tested this on Windows, we found that there are many issues. And basically, to summarize it, symbolic links are a new thing for Windows. So it was released just recently, and you need to enable developer modes on Windows for it to actually work. And it still didn't work quite that well. We had issues like, for example, SAS build allows you to watch files for changes and automatically rebuilds the CSS when it detects changes. And it just didn't work with symbolic links on Windows. It kept rebuilding it all the time and all the time. And like once we got rid of symbolic links, just like re-implemented in a different way, we were able to close like several bugs which are all related to this. So
great.
Yeah, I was going to say exactly the same. It was kind of a funny when we started to a little bit freak out because we both work on Linux, and we had no idea how to quickly get a Windows machine. It ended up in setting up one in AWS, so now we're good.
Great. So I have a hard-hitting question here, because there's some love for the Shiny package icons. So is there any sort of process for deciding what animals are used for the package icons?
Usually we ask the creator what is their favorite animal, or we think about what can be the best representative for a feature. For example, Shiny benchmark is measuring the speed of your application. That's why the Falcon, because it is fast.
I like it. And Rhino?
So I think with Rhino, we were just looking for a name that would work well. I mean, it would be catchy and would have a good visuals. I wanted to say that for Blueprint, for example, we had a bluebird on the logo. So it really depends. If we have a good idea, it's used. Sometimes it's just a matter of brainstorming and finding something that's good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And to finish off, we have a question from Arlene here. What's next for the Rhinoverse? If you can share anything that's not secret, I guess.
Like we achieved right now the full compatibility, because as Kamil said, most of our packages were built in kind of isolation, and the next step is to think about features that will become a great synergies between Rhino and our other packages. So I don't want to give any spoilers, but the general idea is to show you that using two packages in Rhinoverse will give you more than just a sum of those two.
Great. Well, Kamil, Kuba, thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing about the Rhinoverse and for creating the Rhinoverse. We really appreciate it. And I know we at Absalon use it a lot. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.